What's up guys, Kevin Goetz here from Mute Profit, helping you achieve musical success. Today we're talking about how to build your band's fan base up from zero, from absolute nothing, to something, using only Facebook, because I know some of you are holdouts against using other social media platforms. You want kind of a easy way to dip your toes into using social media marketing. Try Facebook. So, step one, the first essential part of this strategy is figure out your sound-alike artists, and these are bands that the greats in your genre, your influences, the bands you know people are going to compare you to. That's not too hard, right? Step two is to identify your twist, and this is where it gets fun. What is your twist? If you think of it almost like a virtual sales letter, if you're pitching your music to someone, if you have to explain why they should care about your music over the bands in your genre that already exist, that they're already into, how do you do that? In other words, what sets you apart? And this is why oversaturation is such a stupid concept, because an oversaturated genre is ripe to be exploited. That means that the fans are sick of carbon copies and they want someone to come out of it who's doing something original. That's certainly the secret to our success. So when people complain about a genre being oversaturated, what that tells me is you don't want to do something original, you wish there was still room to be another carbon copy. And if you can get over that mindset, you can win. Easily. So, some example twists. I had a client, and he's starting up a melodic death metal band. And so we sat down over Skype, and we talked about this, and he's like, well, I really like the music of Children of Bodom from, like, the Follow the Reaper era. And his twist was, and I suggested, okay, try advertising to Children of Bodom fans, and use a tagline, something to the effect of, man, doesn't it just suck? Like, as a listener, don't you wish that Children of Bodom still made music like they did when they made Follow the Reaper? Don't you kind of wish that, like, the Blood Drunk and I Worship Chaos albums hadn't been a thing? And then just go, you know, we are trying our best to pay tribute to that sound. So if you maybe, you know, we're no Children of Bodom, obviously, but we're artists and we love that sound and we want more of that in the world, so come here, check us out. That works great. Our twist is, don't you wish that Nightwish's guitarist would do more than play little power chord progressions? Don't you wish, like, Nightwish maybe had some modern technical riffing in it? That would be kind of cool, right? Hey, just come here. Listen to our music. Or one that I have not seen, but that I am just waiting for someone to do because they will crush it, is, what if Periphery had a good vocalist? No, I mean, I don't hate Periphery, but so many people complain about Spencer's whiny high school emo boy vocals. If someone came in with, like, maybe not like a Bruce Dickinson kind of thing, but like a Marco Hietala or a Russell Allen kind of approach, they would destroy the entire gent scene, and it would be hilarious. So, once you have that down, you want to figure out what else these fans are into. And Facebook has a useful tool called Audience Insights. So you go to facebook.com/ads/manager, and this assumes you've set up an account. It'll probably walk you through the steps to set up your business manager account. No big deal. Then there's a nifty little drop-down menu with tools, and this tool is called Audience Insights. So you would plug in your sound-alike band, your number one sound-alike band. So it's normal to have like 5, right? And you can run experiments on each of these to see, you know, if there's maybe overlap or who's who here, right? And you go into Audience Insights, and oh look, here's a list of all the other things that people who like this band are also into. So this is things like other bands. You know, I'm going to speak from experience personally. People who are into Nightwish are also into Xandria and Delane and Within Temptation, and surprisingly not Epica for some reason. Arch Enemy is actually surprisingly high on the list of cross-related likes for people who like Nightwish. And so sometimes this can even help you identify your twist, because obviously Mute Profit has a number of Arch Enemy influences or similarities, at least in the case of we have a female vocalist that growls sometimes. And that gave us another little clue to dialing in our ideal super targeted fan, someone who likes both Nightwish and Arch Enemy, is way more likely to instantly fall in love with our music. But more than that, you can see related interests. So with Nightwish, there are similar interests, things like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, to a lesser extent Harry Potter and anime, and actually one that's surprisingly big is fantasy video games, Dragon Age, The Witcher, Dark Souls, Legend of Zelda. And what this does is it gives you a list of ways to relate to your audience, because what we want to do now that we're coming to step 4, because 3 was use the audience insights, 4 is to understand how to craft your community. Because you want to make it clear to these people, you're not just a musician. You're not someone who's just trying to sell them your music. That's the last thing you want to be thinking about. You want to be someone that they can relate to. And this is especially true of metal, because metal is already very tribalistic and very in-group, out-group dynamic. You know, like, stereotypically, the metal crowd will welcome anyone who likes metal, and anyone who doesn't can fuck off. Because we are kind of the outcasts, and we all we need is each other and our music, and yeah. So the more you play into these interests, the more it's like, assuming it's genuine, you know, I happen to already love The Witcher and Dark Souls. I don't post shit from Game of Thrones because I simply don't have the time to get into that show, but the things that do interest me that I share with my fans, I absolutely do post on Facebook about those things, and what that does is that deepens the relationship. That shows I'm a real person, I like some of the same stuff you like, I can make music, you could make music if you really wanted to. Isn't that cool? Because ultimately what we want to do is give value to our listeners. We don't want a sale, we want a relationship. We want to make these people feel as welcomed and as valued as possible. Because that is what leads to a true following for your band, is you know the people who are following you. And maybe you do grow past the point of being able to keep track of everyone. I have something like 16,000 likes on my Facebook page, but I know the names of the top 30 to 50 people who interact and are the most active and the most devoted fans, easily. Same with YouTube. I know most of you guys who comment the most. I recognize all your names, I remember things that you've said before about yourself and your goals. I keep track, because past a certain point you have enough of a connection with people that it just comes naturally. It's like how you remember the names of your friends, you know? So now that you have all these plans laid out, at step 5, we have to start talking about how to actually grow your community, and the simplest way to do that is with page-like ads. I've talked about this before. You would simply just create an ad, ideally with a 30-second clip, maybe, of a music video, and it doesn't have to be sequential. I mean, we had a clip that was chorus into pre-chorus into guitar solo, literally just to cycle through and get people hyped up who had absolutely no idea what they were listening to yet. And that performed very well. And you go with a simple headline that identifies your twist, you know, so we luckily already had a following starting by that point, so we could honestly say Mute Prophet has been described by fans as Nightwish meets Arch Enemy, and so that comes off a lot more humble than, hey, check us out, we're as good as Nightwish and Arch Enemy. But, you know, if you have to rephrase it, no one's gonna fault you for putting words in some fictional fan's mouth, because you have to start from somewhere, you know, so I guess that's probably the only way you can go about that at that point. You can also totally go for a much bolder headline. You know, one that did surprisingly well for us at the time was, this band is like Epica on steroids. You know, like, that is incredibly boastful, right? And we got a lot of flack for it, but actually it, metric-wise, statistically, it did damn well. But, so you would target the same people you've been targeting with Audience Insights. You can even go as far as to go super narrow. So when you're building an ad, when you're building an audience, you have the option of narrowing your audience based on, they must also like this thing, in addition to this thing that you were initially targeting for. I personally don't like to go lower than 100,000 people if I can help it, but if you drop down to like 30,000, just super, super small, you'd be surprised how devoted those people are. You're paying a little bit more per like because there's a smaller segment of the population that the algorithm is drawing data from, so it takes longer to optimize the cost of your ad. But again, you can get so incredibly targeted that these people just fall in love with you. You know, if you have them liking your twist band and your sound-alike band, and also this video game that you happen to be posting about, you know, play around with it. Do not be afraid to go narrow. But the metric to look for is after 2 or 3 days, you want to be paying like 10 cents per page like. Oh, right, this is important. There are specific countries that we want to narrow our audience to for the most part. I personally see the most success, and a lot of metal bands see the most success targeting US, Canada, UK, Germany, France, Sweden, Finland, I think? No. Finland, the following is huge, but there was some reason not to advertise to Finland that I can't recall at the moment. Denmark is one. And actually, I've been seeing a lot of people recommending testing Japan. I haven't done that yet. I'm probably gonna give that a shot and see what happens. But in any case, yeah, this is how you start to build your community on Facebook. And is it like the end-all be-all? Am I gonna be like a certain music marketing guru who I will not name, who promises that you'll make 6 figures by doing this, just this? No, I'm not. Check out some of my other videos to get into how to actually start making some money from this advertising you're doing. It's just a very simplistic overview of some strategies that you can use to start growing your fan base from zero. Don't forget, like this video if you like it, show it to your friends who maybe can relate, check out the playlists on my channel for a lot of other awesome music content, and I will see you guys in the next video.